Today we're taking a look at another point-and-click game from the 90s. Phantasmagoria was released in 1995, designed by Roberta Williams, who was the co-founder of Sierra Entertainment. She would also work on games like King's Quest as well. Phantasmagoria, like Harvester, featured live-action actors as opposed to sprites or computer-generated graphics. And also, like Harvester, was the subject of controversy due to its depictions of violence, gore, and sexual content, the most infamous scene being one depicting rape. Because of this, many retailers refused to carry the game. Religious organizations and politicians spoke out against the game, and it was outright banned in Australia. Despite these efforts from moral police, the game became Sierra's best-selling game to date, selling 300,000 units and amassing $12 million at the time of release, and eventually becoming Sierra's first game to sell over 1 million copies. It became the best-selling game in the US for that year. The creation of the game is actually really cool. It was directed by Peter Maris, who directed several other low-budget horror movies in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. The game featured 25 actors, all performing in front of a blue screen which interchanged various backgrounds and was superimposed into the game. The game cost around $4.5 million to develop, and the studio for filming cost around $1,500,000. More than 200 people were involved in the making of the game, and it featured a 550-page script. It featured numerous death scenes, all which needed to be filmed, in addition to the scenes filmed with optional dialogue options, the ones which pushed forward the story, and the various scene transitions. The special effects, while cheesy and B-movie-esque, I think look pretty good, especially for a game that originated on DOS in the 90s. Like Harvester, Phantasmagoria needs to be played on DOSBox now, so unfortunately the resolution is really bad. The plot finds Adrienne Delaney, a story writer, and her husband, Don Gordon, a photographer, moving into a new and strange house. It is revealed early on that the house was previously owned by Zoltan Karnovash, a famous magician whose 5 wives mysteriously died over the course of Zoltan's life. Karno was a practitioner of black magic and allowed evil spirits and demons to reside in the residence. You play as Adrienne and must uncover the secrets of the house, find out what happened to Karno and his wives, and stop whatever evil spirit is possessing the house and her husband Don. The game plays like a typical point-and-click adventure for its time. You move around a room looking at objects, collecting items, and solving puzzles. You can travel to different areas of the Karno mansion, as well as the nearby town as you search for clues. Each of the townsfolk nearby have various dialogue options which expand upon lore and the house and give some insight into what is going on. There's even an antique saleswoman which has optional dialogue giving full explanations of the history surrounding Karno, his wives, and the house if you really wanted to explore the lore. And I did. I actually found it interesting. It wasn't boring to me.
Oh, Adrienne, I'm glad you're here. I have some important newspaper articles you might want to see.
Oh, really? Let me see.
When you started questioning me about Karno's old estate, I thought of something. My mother started this scrapbook of important news articles when she was very young. She added to it almost up until the day she died. That was 4 years ago. I remembered seeing some old articles about Karno in here, so I dug it up.
This is wonderful. Can I keep it for a while?
Oh, no, I couldn't let it go. It's my mother's. You have to look at it here. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. I'm just glad you found it. Unfortunately, I may not have time right now. When can I read them?
Anytime. I will leave it right here on the counter. Come in whenever you want.
Thanks, Lou. I appreciate it.
Don't mention it.
Puzzles are also solved in the typical point-and-click way. Certain items are needed to perform certain tasks, which open up new areas, allowing the plot to advance. For some puzzles, there are a couple different items or orders of operations you can perform to solve the problem. The main events in the game are also broken up in days, but you can go back and find items you may have missed the day before. So you don't have to really worry about finding everything before the day ends. I found the puzzles to be fairly easy compared to other point-and-click games at the time, and if something really was too difficult, there's this little red skull in the game that you can click on to get hints. It's something completely optional that may help players who are just interested in advancing the story.
I am the official hint keeper. I watch your every move. Ask me for a hint if you are hopelessly stuck, but use me sparingly. Too many hints can spoil the game.
The game took me about 8 hours to finish. From a technical standpoint, I thought while Phantasmagoria looked better from a movie perspective, Harvester actually played better as a game integrated with live-action scenes. In Harvester, you feel like the characters are digitized in the world, whereas Phantasmagoria feels more like you're clicking on different things that trigger different scenes of a movie. It's still very interactive, but it's different. Because of this, I found the transitions between actors and scenes were oftentimes really drawn out and kind of awkward. In all honesty, it takes like really long for simple things to happen. The game does get pretty difficult during the last act, however, you can't actually die at all during the entire game up until the last act. There are some scenes where other people can die, but you, Adrian, cannot die until the last act. Here we get to see some pretty cool death scenes. They're pretty gory and violent, even though they only happen on the screen briefly. The last act features timed challenges in specific order to performing tasks. If you deviate from that order or act too slowly, you will die. Like I said, it's fun to die at this point because these scenes are legitimately entertaining, but after a while it does get a little frustrating. There's a lot of trial and error. Dying at this point also starts a recap taking you to where you last died, so you don't have to play through the entire act again and can rather watch it unfold. Overall, I think Phantasmagoria is a dated yet enjoyable game. It may not be super revolutionary by today's standards, but for the time the game was really ambitious. Though the story may start off kind of slow, once the creepy and mysterious things start to happen around the house and more of the mystery is unfurled, it becomes really fun and entertaining, and the acted scenes are fun to watch and interact with. Once again, it's like you're playing a B-movie, and that's rad.